All right, unit circle part 2, deuce. All right, so now here's the whole point of the unit circle and why we even use this. It's more of it's like a point of reference. So let's just say that I want to know what the sine of 0 degrees is. I want to go to my unit circle. I find the side by side. I go ahead and find the degree 0. Okay, and at that point, and remember, sine is the y value of that the triangle as we looked at it. So I can just go to the y value at 0. That's the sine of 30. Well, the y value there is 1/2. Okay, so you're kind of getting the idea here. So what's the sine of 45? Well, that's the y value there is rad 2 over 2. Okay, but what about tangent? Okay, because cosine, that would be simple, right? Let's go to I don't know, cosine of 60, that's the x value. So boom, that's 1/2. Okay, but now we have to remember the tangent is opposite over adjacent, right? Opposite over adjacent. Okay, but remember sine is the opposite side, whereas cosine is the adjacent side. So really what tangent is, it's sine over cosine. So if I were to figure out what this one is, let's say for instance, cosine, actually, let's go here. Cosine of 30 degrees, that's rad 3 over 2. Okay, so it says that the tangent is equal to sine over cosine. So that means I got to take this 1/2 and divide it by cosine. So just basically 1/2 divided by rad 3 over 2. Well, I know that I got to change that to multiplication, reciprocal, those cancel. Now let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this. Okay, that would be 1 over rad 3, but again, we don't want rad 3 down there, so then we multiply rad 3 there and there, and then that becomes rad 3 over 3. So that is actually the tangent of 30 degrees. Okay, so that's how we figure out the rest of these. Okay, so I'll do one more here for you. So now again, sine over cosine, 45. Well, I know that at 45 degrees, boom, right there, they're both rad 2 over 2. So if it's sine over cosine, that's just this over this equals 1. This over this, it gives me this. This over this gives me this. So I want you guys to complete the rest of that. Finish it on your own. Okay? Ready, go. Okay, so as you go through this, you'll notice 0 over 1, that's just simply, sorry there, 0 over 1, that's just 0. Okay, then I do the same thing, I do this divided by this, I flip the reciprocal of that, the 2's cancel, and I get that. But now here, for tangent, the sine is 1 and the cosine is tangent of 90, and the cosine is 0, so 1 over 0, that's undefined. So there is like a hole in the tangent function that you can't have. 90 degrees doesn't work for tangent. Okay, and you would probably get like an error or something like that in your calculator if you tried to plug that in. Okay, so now if we go to the inside. Okay, so now we're talking about cosecant. Okay, this is just other trig ratios that we already know. This is basically 1 over sine. Remember, sine is, theta. Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, so then that means cosecant is basically the reciprocal of that. I've flipped the same thing. Okay, same thing with secant, that's 1 over cosine theta, so then this is hypotenuse over adjacent, okay, and then cotangent, that's sine over cosine, so then that means this is the reciprocal, which is cosine over sine, okay? And remember, cotangent, again, is 1 over tangent, so that's why that's equal to cosine over sine, okay? So really, remember cosine is adjacent, sine is opposite, so really this is adjacent over opposite. Okay, so now if I slide down here, What are the signs of trig ratios by quadrant? Okay, well, if I go here to here on the quadrant 1, I know that this is all the x values, right? So I know that's going to be plus. Okay. And if I go over here, cosine as I go to the left is negative. Okay, as I go down here.
Dad, you said it will be soon.
I know, hang on. Okay, cosine over here is still negative, and cosine over here is positive. Okay, now, no, Daddy's making the video.
Yeah, but
okay,
I could tell.
And right here, sine is, what's that, Lige? Plus or minus?
Plus.
Right, and over here, sine is
Equal.
What's that?
Plus.
Right. And down here in quadrant 3, sine is
Pico plus. Plus.
minus.
Minus.
And down
Pico
here,
plus.
sine is also
Minus.
because the y is down there, or y is minus down there. Okay, so now you got to think, well, what about tangent? Well, remember, tangent is cosine and sine, sine over cosine. So plus over plus gives me plus. Okay, tangent over here, plus over minus, well, that's minus. Okay, minus over minus, well, then that means that tangent is plus.
Yeah.
Okay, then over here, sine negative over positive, tangent is minus. Okay, so with all that, in this quadrant, all functions are positive.
All functions
Okay.
are positive.
In this quadrant,
Yeah, I can add some water.
sine is positive.
Sine is positive.
Thank you, Lige. In this quadrant, tangent is positive.
Tangent
And in
is
this
positive.
quadrant,
In this quadrant,
cosine is positive.
cosine
Okay,
is positive.
and you'll see this acronym SACT, or some people like to refer to it as CATS, CATS. Okay, there's all kinds of different acronyms. You can look them up. Okay, so now what you guys are going to do for the rest of this is, let's say I have a cosine of 120. You're going to use your unit circle and figure out the rest of these values. So cosine of 120, I simply go here. Okay, thank you for finding that, Elijah. That's the x value, the green one. So that's just negative 1/2. Okay, sine of 315. I just go down here. That's the y value. Okay, so I forgot to fill that one in. That's going to be rad 2 over 2. And that's positive for x. Okay, so sine for 315 is going to be negative rad 2 over 2. Okay, so that's the idea, is you guys are going to go through the rest of these, and here you've got some in radians as well, and figure out all the values for these different functions. Okay, now I'll show you a couple that we might want to look at, like, let's say secant. Okay, secant of 135. Okay, remember secant is a reciprocal of cosine. So if I go to 135 here, 135 that is negative rad 2 over 2. So on the side here, I take rad 2 over 2, and remember, it's the reciprocal of that. Sorry. It's the reciprocal of that, so that means I have to multiply rad 2 right here, and I get 2 rad 2 over 2, which cancels. It's negative, so it's just negative rad 2. Okay, so when you get the secant or cotangent or cotangent, cosecant, you need to take the reciprocal, and there's a good chance you're going to have to simplify the radical and get rid of it as you go through these. So finish the rest and complete the rest of these as well. All right, that's it.
Dad, I didn't know.